Okay, picture this. I'm sitting in one of those doctor's offices. You know the ones. The paper on the exam table is crinkling under me like I'm wrapping a very awkward, human-sized gift. The doctor, a nice guy with glasses that make his eyes look huge, is looking at my chart. He hummed. Doctors should not be allowed to hum. It's either really good news or really bad news. And either way, I'm just not ready for the musical number. He looks up, pushes his glasses up his nose. Well, Jimmy, with these symptoms, we might need to consider a lumbar puncture. I just stared. Lumbar puncture? Is that a new craft beer? A weird yoga pose? It sounds pointy. He must have seen the blank look on my face, the one I usually save for when someone tries to explain cryptocurrency. He clarified, a spinal tap. And that's when my brain just shut down. A spinal tap, the two scariest words in the English language, right after we're out of coffee and your card has been declined. All I could picture was a giant needle, like a needle from a cartoon. One of those ones that a villain would use to drain a hero of his powers. I imagined it being the size of a pool noodle. I started sweating. At this point, the crinkly paper under me was basically turning into paper mache. I was a goner. My mind went into overdrive. I'm thinking, this is it. This is how it ends. Not in a blaze of glory, not telling one last amazing joke on stage. No, it ends with me curled up on a table while a doctor plays a game of medical Jenga with my spine. I started having flashbacks to every scary movie I'd ever seen. Every scene with a mad scientist and a bubbling beaker. I was the star of my own low-budget horror film, and the reviews were not going to be good. My internal monologue was just screaming. I think I actually said, "Hey, what now?" out loud, my voice cracking a little bit. It's a very standard procedure. Standard procedure? Sir, a standard procedure is getting your oil changed. A standard procedure is ordering a pizza on a Friday night. Taking fluid from my spine feels a few steps above standard. I needed to sit down, but I was already sitting down. I needed a drink, maybe two, and definitely a second opinion, or a third. So after my initial panic attack subsided, mostly, I figured I should probably understand what we were even looking for. The doctor mentioned MS, which of course stands for multiple sclerosis. Now that sounds super serious and scientific, right? It sounds like something you'd hear in a movie right before the world ends. But let's break it down, Fallon style. Imagine your body is like the internet. Your brain is the main server and it sends out signals, emails, cat videos, you name it, to the rest of your body through a bunch of cables. These are your nerves. You're basically a walking Wi-Fi hotspot. Now, with MS, your immune system gets a little confused. It's like it drank too much coffee and started seeing threats everywhere. Instead of fighting germs, it attacks the protective coating around nerves myelin. Think of it like the plastic around a phone charger. When that coating is damaged, the signal gets messed up, slow, scrambled, or stopped completely. One minute you tell your hand to pick up a mug, the next it has bad reception, like going from 5G to dial-up in a split second. That causes weird stuff. Vision blurry, tingling or numbness, random foot, fell asleep moments, extreme fatigue, like running a marathon after 3 sleepless days. Symptoms vary. It's unpredictable. One person might have trouble walking, while another gets buzzing in their leg. It's frustrating and scary. So when my doc said it might be MS, it wasn't just a spinal tap that freaked me out. It was this big, confusing thing called MS. It's like your body's IT department went on strike and started chewing the wires. The worst part, they're your own employees. You can't fire them. You have to adapt to the chaos. It's a full-time job managing an internal meltdown. And apparently step 1 might involve a giant needle, or so I thought. Alright, let's talk about the spinal tap itself. The main event, the procedure with the world's worst PR team. Why do doctors even suggest this medieval-sounding test? Is it a rite of passage for them? Do they get a special pin for their white coat after their first one? It turns out there's a reason, and it's actually kind of smart, even if it sounds terrifying. Remember how we said MS is your immune system going haywire? Well, that chaos leaves behind clues. It's like a robber who leaves fingerprints in a half-eaten sandwich at the crime scene. Your immune system is a messy criminal. The fluid that surrounds your brain, the fluid that surrounds your spinal cord, it's called cerebrospinal fluid, or CSF if you want to sound fancy. It's like the security camera footage of your central nervous system. When your immune system attacks the myelin, it releases specific proteins, it releases specific antibodies into that fluid. These things are called oligoclonal bands. That's the big clue. Finding these bands in the spinal fluid, finding these bands not in the blood, is like finding a suspect's fingerprints only inside the bank vault. It's a huge sign that the trouble is originating right there in the central nervous system. So, the spinal tap is basically a detective mission. The doctor is Sherlock Holmes, the needle is his magnifying glass. A very, very pointy magnifying glass. Your spinal fluid is the crime scene. They're just trying to collect evidence to solve the case of what the heck is going on in there. By taking a tiny sample of that fluid, they can send it to a lab and see if those telltale proteins are hanging around. It provides a piece of the puzzle that no other test can. It's the inside scoop, literally. It's like getting a direct report from the scene of the crime. But here's the thing, it's just one piece of the puzzle. For a long time, it was considered a really important piece, the gold standard. Back in the day, before we had super high-tech imaging, it was one of the best ways to get a clear answer. So many doctors, especially those who have been practicing for a while, still see it as a very reliable and definitive tool. It's the old trusty hammer in their toolbox. Sometimes you just want to use the tool you know best, even if there's a new fancy laser-powered screwdriver available. It's familiar, it's reliable, it just also happens to be terrifying. So, I'm sitting there, mentally preparing for this spinal showdown when my doctor finally stops my panic spiral. He says, whoa, Jimmy, we're not there yet. A spinal tap is just one option. We have other ways to look for MS. And honestly, a huge wave of relief washed over me. It was like finding out the final exam was actually multiple choice. There are other options. It's not just pass/fail with a giant needle. Phew. The main tool in the modern MS detection kit, he explained, is the MRI, the magnetic resonance imaging machine. You know, the big white donut of a machine that makes a lot of loud, clunky noises. An MRI is basically a super-powered camera that uses a giant magnet and radio waves to take detailed pictures of your brain and spinal cord. It's like Google Maps for your insides. Instead of looking for proteins in your spinal fluid, the MRI looks for the physical damage, the crime scene itself. It can see the lesions, which are like little scars or areas of inflammation where the myelin has been attacked. If the MRI shows lesions in different parts of the brain or spinal cord that have happened at different times, that's a huge indicator of MS. It's called dissemination in space and time, which honestly sounds like a sci-fi movie title, but it's a key part of the diagnosis. Then there's another test called an evoked potential study. This sounds complicated, but it's pretty simple. They put some electrodes on your scalp. Don't worry, it's painless, like little stickers. They flash a light or play a sound. Then they measure how fast the electrical signal travels from your eyes or ears to your brain. If the signal is slower than it should be, it could mean there's damage to the nerve pathways. It's like checking your internet speed. If your download speed is super slow, you know there's a problem somewhere along the line. It's another way to find evidence without ever going near your spine. So you have the MRI showing the lesions, the evoked potential study showing the slow signals, and the spinal tap showing the immune response. A doctor will look at all these things together, along with your symptoms and a neurological exam. It's like a team of detectives all bringing their clues to the table. One has photos, one has witness statements, and one has the lab results. Sometimes the photos from the MRI are so clear-cut that the other tests aren't even necessary. The diagnosis is obvious just from the pictures, and that, my friends, is the best-case scenario. So here's the punchline to this whole long, terrifying internal saga. After all that panic, after designing the movie poster for my own spinal horror film, after imagining my skeleton leaving my body for a quick smoke break, you might not even need a spinal tap. Seriously, that's the big takeaway. The rules for diagnosing MS have changed a lot over the years. Modern medicine is amazing. Today's high-powered MRI machines. Doctors can often get all the information they need just from those images. It's like having X-ray vision, but for your nerves. The 2017 McDonald Criteria sounds like a value meal, but it's important. A spinal tap is not always required. Your symptoms, your MRI scans, if both clearly point to MS, that's often enough to make a diagnosis. MRI can show dissemination in space and time. If that evidence is strong enough, you can skip the spinal tap. It's more of a backup singer than the lead vocalist. It helps confirm diagnosis if the MRI is unclear or if the symptoms are unusual. If your doctor says MS and spinal tap in the same breath, don't plan your will. Take a deep breath. Ask questions. Ask about the MRI. Ask if your case meets the criteria for a diagnosis without a lumbar puncture. Be your own advocate. It's your body and your spine. You have a right to understand every recommended test. The spinal tap may just be to be extra sure. Discuss it. Knowledge is power. It might help you avoid a scary needle. That's how I almost had a meltdown over something I might not need. Medicine is weird and intimidating, but not always as scary as our imaginations. If you like this story, if you feel less scared of your doctor now, hit that like button. Smash that subscribe button. Do it for the skeletons who want to stay inside. Next time, cracking knuckles. Does it give you arthritis? My dad swore it did. We'll see. See you then.